Hey everyone, today I'll be reviewing my new MOC Nex 4.0 Reimagined. He took me about 3 hours to build and he's upwards of 200 pieces, and he's probably one of my favorite MOCs ever. The biggest challenge in this build was probably the fact that I don't have very many orange techniques or very many white techniques. To start off the actual review, I'll go ahead and start with the legs since they're my least favorite part of the build. The legs took me probably about 30 or 40 minutes to build. Legs are always the hardest thing for me to build just because I try to make them as stable as possible, and sometimes that's hard when I'm working with limited pieces. But I like their overall design. He stands pretty well. I like this orange big Bionicle Technic piece, but this specific one I got from Rotor. And I like the vent that I put right there. Also, I like this jet piece. That also came from Rotor. Most of the pieces on this build actually come from Rotor just because he's really the only orange Hero Factory or orange Bionicle that I have. I really like the use of this white Bionicle armor plate there. I don't know what specific Bionicle guy that originated from, and I don't really know who I got it from because I got it in a lot, so I don't know what exact Bionicle it comes from. I like the use of the orange wire right here. That also came from Rotor. And his feet I built up slightly just to give him a little bit more surface area so he doesn't fall down quite as easily. And he's not the heaviest build or the tallest, so he stands pretty good with just the small amount of space that his feet actually cover. The leg design really isn't complex. It just took me a while to get exactly how I wanted it to be. They're probably only 50 pieces each, maybe less than that. And so really the hard part about building the legs is just making them stable and making them look good. Now moving on to his upper body, I'll start off with his Meteor Blaster arm. Now, originally, Nex's Meteor Blaster arm was a lot more plain, and so I just decided to really go off script and make his Meteor Blaster a lot cooler. I added a sight, made it longer, and gave it a cooler looking barrel. Also, the arm is just a lot thicker, and it looks really cool. I used a lot of Lego pieces just to make a cool design. I don't really know what it's used for. It might be a little extra armor padding. Also, I added a gear on either side just to kind of cover the ball joint in there, and it really gives it a cool effect. Now, unfortunately, you kind of have to push this wire down to make his arm go all the way back. His arm doesn't have, or his elbow joint doesn't have a bunch of articulation. It can just go forward and back, and it can't move side to side unless you use the ball joint up here. But overall, this arm has some pretty good articulation. Now, the other arm, this is his laser arm. The original Nex, this was the laser arm. It's a lot more plain. So I went way beyond the original design and just made it look a lot cooler. This arm has a decent amount of forward and back articulation, and this arm is probably one of the best Technic arms I've ever built. I don't know why, I just really like how it looks. I used gear pieces again on both sides just to cover up the ball joint. This arm is definitely my favorite arm, or my favorite arm on Nex. The body took a while to build. What I always start off with on the heroes is putting the core in the center, and that's always a challenge. I always place it and then build up around it. I put these orange wires here just to kind of frame the core, and also I put these big white Hero Factory, Star Wars armor plates right here just to cover up some techniques inside that I didn't want to be visible. Also, I used some Lego pieces right here to cover up a big gap in the build, and then I used these armor plates that I originally got from Rotor in orange, and just to give him shoulder plates, which those look pretty good. The body took probably the majority of the time just to get everything exactly how I wanted it. The back is actually very simple. I just used 3 big armor plates to cover it up. It was a lot harder than I expected it to be incorporating those 3 armor plates just because they kind of all collide. They were colliding with each other at first, and so I had to really redesign a lot of the back to fit all of them in place to where they weren't wobbling around a lot. But this one still does wobble a little bit, which that's unfortunate. But if I want to have it there, it has to have a little bit of wobble. I haven't really figured out a way to make it completely sturdy and where it won't move at all. If you're not aware of the project that I'm doing right now, it's called 4.0 Reimagined. It's where I'm recreating every single 4.0 set in my own style, improving upon the design, and keeping them as similar to the original sets as possible while making them as cool as possible. So far, I've only reviewed Bulk, Core Hunter, and Nex, but I have 15 more on the way, and I'll be reviewing one every single Wednesday. I'll start with the hero, then I'll review the hero's villain, and I'll keep that pattern until I'm done with 4.0. Then I'll make some stop motions with them, and hopefully I'll be able to have them up all at the same time without breaking one, so I can make one final video showing all of them at once. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you'll check out some of my other reviews.